And I'm recording. Okay. Um. Good afternoon, everybody. Uh, it's been another day, right? And back to where we left off. So we actually had VM working with our post install script. So just to review, we were able to create a virtual machine inside VirtualBox. And it's a fresh installation of Ubuntu 22. I still need to rename this. And we had actually pushed our script into a Git repo that we had, and we're just accessing the raw file here, right? And what we ended up doing was using wget to actually uh, run the script in our VM. So I think the command that we ran was something like this, right? Wget -qo, and then the main URL to the script. We pipe that output to bash. So let me actually let me see if I can do some clipboard sharing here. But let's actually log that in into our here. So execute the post install script. So let's actually put that here so that we have a reference point. Ah, there we go. And I think we'll do wget. You pipe that to bash. Okay, so that's like the main gist of the command, right? But it's kind of hard to remember all of this, right? Like this is like a URL that we constantly need to remember, and I don't think that's actually very convenient. Um, and just so you know, if we make changes to our script um, and push it to our GitHub repo, we'll always get the most up-to-date version with this URL here. I can actually show you that real quick. So if you remember from yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, we had to actually do source bash rc after we had run the script with our wget pipe to bash command, right? And so maybe it might be worth it to tell the user running the script that they should execute source bash rc at the end of all of this. So let's actually just edit that script to have that with our with an echo command, right? So echo, you should let's do this. All done. You should run this command to finish up. Source tilde bash rc. Okay, so simple change, right? So now all that we'll need to do is we'll just need to commit these changes and push it up to our GitHub repository here. So if you haven't already created a GitHub repo, I suggest you just do it now. Mine is set to public, so you can actually reach the GitHub repo here. So I'm just going to copy that and I'll put posts here. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, let's do git add and then git commit, right? So let's do cd avg dev, which is our repo. We'll do git status. We'll see that we have two files, and then we'll just need to add them. All right, and make a meaningful commit message. Added statement to source dash rc at the end of the post installation script. Okay, and we'll just push. Oops. And hopefully, if we were to go to our script here, we should see the latest changes by clicking on this and right here. That's cool. Now let's go back to the URL that we said that should always stay the same. So we'll grab this URL here. Let's just copy this, right? And this should always have the latest content. We'll paste it. We'll go. And look at that. We have this echo all done. You should run this command to finish up. Source -rc. Similarly enough, if we go to our virtual machine, if we refresh this, we'll have this here. So at least we have a URL that won't change, right? But it's kind of inconvenient to remember, right? So I say, let's do this. Let's create a nice web page that will simply just have this command here displayed, and then we'll deploy this as a little web app to an Azure VM, and then that'll be our web page, right? That we can go to do a copy paste. Yeah. So let's do that. So I think all we need to do is just create a simple project, right? So let's do this. Let's create a new folder called packages, right? And then within this package, we'll create something called post install front end. Okay, and we'll make a Node.js project, simple JavaScript server that will actually listen and for any connections and just deliver back a simple web page that will have our in this case, going back to this here, our wget qo URL pipe bash command. Okay, let's worry about deploying later. Let's just create our Node.js project. So I'd like to start every project in Node.js. Right, post install. Okay, so we're here now. We're here within our post install front end folder. We have nothing in here. Now to, I guess, initialize a Node.js project, we're going to have to run npm init. Okay. When we run that, we're going to go through this interactive, questionnaire on what should this and that be, and all of the answers to these questions are going to be placed into a package.json file. This package.json file is really important because it actually tells basically any computer that this is a Node.js project, and you can run npm against it, and npm will look for this package.json to get information about your project and any other dependencies that you have, right? So when you install external libraries or dependencies, those package names, those library names are going to be inside this package.json. So that's like the best and easiest way I could explain it. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it as default. It says package name. It'll be like post install front end, right? So I'll just leave it as a default, version 1.0 default. And I'm gonna give it a description, a front end web page, right? Containing the post install command for our development environment. Okay, simple description. Entry point, I'll just leave it as default as index.js. No test command. Git repo, I can pretty much link it to this one here, right? I just paste it like this. And then keywords, no need for that. Author, I'll put my name. No license. And then I'll say, okay. All right, so let's take a look what changed. So we did ls here. We'll notice that we have a new file called package.json. So if we actually look at what's inside here, we're going to see that npm init, right, the command that we ran, npm init, generated a JSON, right, file that has all these details. And notice it has whatever we answered, right? But most importantly, it's going to contain a list of our dependencies, which we'll install later. Okay, so yeah, let's just make a basic web page, right? And in order to do that, we'll just have a simple HTML file. First, though, we'll need to create a simple web server, right? Something that will actually deliver the web pages. And I like to just use Express for that, Express.js. You don't really have to care about the syntax right now, but I'll link the resource. So it's super old, right? But I still use it because I just use very simple features relating to it. So I'll just dump the notes here. Okay. And yeah, so how we install packages, right? So if we go back to Express.js, this is a dependency, right? This is a Node.js library, technically, that we can use, like we can install into our project and then use it. We can import it and then just do stuff with it, right? And the stuff that we're going to do is we're going to run it as a simple web server. We're going to run our project as a simple web server. We're just going to deliver one file, a simple HTML file, okay? So yeah, Express lets us do that. Express is going to listen in on a port number. So we'll define that later. But I just want to show you how it works end to end first. And I need to respond to text. Okay, so following these instructions, it says to install this, we execute npm install express -- save. This -- save is very important because it's going to actually write this package as a dependency into the package.json, right? So we need that. And so let's just do that. npm install express -- save. And let's see what happens. So look, it has added some packages. Yay! So we look at our package.json, we'll see that we have a new entry in our JSON as a dependency, express, right? So our project is now able to utilize Express.js at this point, but we'll need actually an index.js file, like an entry point for our, I guess, for Node to run, right? So it's kind of like if you ever program in Python, it'll be like your main.py, C++ will be your main.cpp, and so on. So I'm just going to keep it simple right now, hello world it, just to make sure I have things working. Right? So I'll just do console log hello world. And then I'm just going to execute that with Node, right? So it's similar if you're coming from Python, Node would be like your Python 3, right? So usually you're like Python 3 main.py, something like that. In this case, it's Node index.js, and we have hello world. Cool. Okay, that's well, right? So now let's actually import Express, right? And set up a simple server, like a server that has a one route that will deliver us back some text, right? So in order to do that, we need to import the Express module. So all we do is do const express equals require, right? Express. Okay. And then now we want to, so now we have the library, right? Now we want to actually create an Express app. And to scaffold that, we just basically call this Express function here. So this, if you hover over, when we require the Express library, meaning that we've imported the Express library, it gives us back a function, and this function is going to give us back basically an object that will allow us to listen in on a specific port for the in the network, so that we can take in requests, and it'll allow us to also create some route handlers, right? So let's do that. Usually the convention is, we'll call it app, right? And we'll call this new express function here. And so far, nothing's happened yet. We've only created our little object here that we can use to listen in and register route handlers and things. So the next thing we want is we want to listen in on the port on our computer. So we can do app.listen, right? Listen. So we had to give it a port, right? So it'll be 3000, for example, and a callback. I might have flipped that, but let's see. App.listen, port, callback. No, that's right. Okay. So then when we do this, we'll just put in anything in here. This callback function is just basically a function that gets executed after Express has like set itself up to listen on a port. When that's done, it'll actually call this function that you specify here to kind of let you know that everything is done and ready. So, if you had additional setup here that you wanted to do after you have come online on this specific port, this function is going to be the function that does all that, right? Let me actually try to stay consistent with my JavaScript. I just want to use normal ES5. So, yeah, I think arrow functions are supported, or ES6. Yeah, they are. All right, anyway. All right. So, yeah, let's run it, and we'll still see the hello world, right? So we do that. Now notice how our app doesn't quit anymore, right? So we're constantly now just like listening on port 3000, right? And so at this point, we can actually listen to any traffic coming in. And I believe if we actually find what IP address this is, we may be able to ping it. Let's see. So from our VM, that is. So maybe? Let's see. IP ADDR will have this. Is it this one? No, this. Yeah, it is this one, I think. Yeah, 192.168.123.2, right? And we want to, I think we can ping on a port or something. So let's try it from this side here. Let's see if we're even on the same network. This one is on where? Oh, this one's not. This is not bridge. This is on NAT. Okay, whatever. Okay, we'll leave it the way it is. Just trust me. It's listening. I don't want to do crazy stuff. Anyway, let me respond to a text. Okay, nothing. All right. My daughter gets picked up around this time, so I'm just usually all ears on things. Okay, so now that we're listening on port 3000, that's actually our HTTP port. Usually it's going to be either 80 or 443, right? But we've overridden that to 3000. But nothing is happening yet, right? Like if we were to go to like port, like for example, in our browser, 127, which is our localhost IP at 3000, we're going to get nothing. So we can't access a server, it's just that there's no route registered, and the route that we need to register is just a root route, right? So let's just register a root route, have it do something, and we'll verify. So why I keep looking at this computer, but I should be looking up here. Okay, so let's create a route handler that is listening on the root port. Let's just send something back to the browser. So app.get, right? And so that's going to be a GET request. So listen on any GET request at the root level, right? And then we're going to have a callback function. Basically, this is the function that will be run when you receive that request from the browser. Like, do something, right? So usually the payload is going to have something called a request object. and then it'll give you back, or you're also given a response object to use, and then a next. But usually, since like I'm not doing much here, I'm gonna leave out the next, right? And then we're going to then send some data back, right? So once we get a request coming in at the root route, right, we are going to execute this, but Express is going to execute this given function here to do stuff in reaction to that request. So in this case here, we can just simply send some data back. And to send the data back, we'll just do return res.send, right? Hello there. So we'll just send a piece of text called hello there. We're not going to use the request object given to us here right now. We'll just use our response object. Now, when we do that, we're going to have to restart our server, because when we change our server, we had to do this restart. And we're going to install something later that will automatically restart the server when changes happen in the files, but not in the scope of what we're trying to do today. So we restart the app. Now we can navigate to our root route, and then we should see something come back. So we hit enter, we get our text hello there, right? So equivalently, this without a root route is just going to be this by default, right? So pretty cool, right? Now we could actually just send our command back right now, right? As a piece of text. So in this case, like we had this command here. Was it in our docs? We had this command here. We can technically just do this, right? And then we can restart our server, and we refresh. We'll have this. So like if anybody navigates to this web page here, they can just copy this command, and this will be your URL to your script, right? Just a reminder, right? And they could just run it in their terminal. As easy as that. They don't need to care about going, well, they should probably see what's in here, right? Or you, in this case, should probably see what's in here. But yeah, it's if you trust the script, you trust the source, then you can just copy and paste into a terminal, and you'll have a quick way to execute things, right? Okay, so how do we actually deploy something like this to the internet? And that will be for our next video.